Joe Biden pardoned you and a number of people who he thought Trump would go after.
No, I take the opposite view. I don't think he should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think he should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole committee.
And the fact that Schiff hasn't blinked since 1992. And he didn't take the news so well. The disgraced Democrat went on TikTok to complain. Behold.
Hello, I'm Congressman Adam Schiff with some troubling news. Today, Kevin McCarthy removed me from the House Intelligence Committee, all for doing my job, for holding Trump accountable and standing up to the extreme MAGA Republicans.
Bill Maher and Greg Gutfeld have officially had enough of Adam Schiff. And this time, they didn't just criticize him, they went full scorched earth. For years, Schiff dragged the nation down one conspiracy rabbit hole after another, hyping Russian collusion like it was written in stone, and pushing fairy tale dossiers as if they were sacred truths. But now, with the smoke cleared and the facts laid bare, even his own political allies are circling him like wolves around a wounded con artist. I've got every savage roast, every fiery exchange, and all the political shrapnel flying in every direction. So get ready, because this showdown isn't just going to rattle Schiff. It's going to explode across the political stage like a firecracker in a dynamite factory. When Bill Maher locked eyes with Adam Schiff, the mood in the studio shifted instantly. Schiff thought he was walking into another softball interview, but Maher had no interest in protecting him from the heat this time.
Let's stop talking about Trump. We talk about him too much. We want to tell people what we're going to do for them. Healthcare, environment, those kind of issues. For example, I've seen you on TV a lot in the last couple of years. I know everything you know, or that you tell us, about the Russian situation. I don't have a clue what you think about healthcare. I've never heard it. I don't know whether you're for Medicare for all, or improve Obamacare, or get a chicken. I don't know what.
For Adam Schiff, because he created 3 years of a massive fallacy that did so much damage to this country and made us miss probably one of the most important stories of our lifetime. We were having hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding.
Maher's voice cut sharp and fast, slicing through Schiff's usual polished tone. He asked what millions of Americans have wanted to know for years. What has Schiff actually done for the people besides scream Trump at every turn? Schiff froze for a moment, stunned by the bluntness. He had spent years reciting lines like a stage actor, always dodging the hard questions, but Maher cornered him in front of a live audience that could smell the panic dripping off every word. The audience gasped and chuckled as Maher reminded Schiff that while he was busy staging endless impeachment hearings, real problems like health care and the environment were being ignored. Schiff's silence on those issues was deafening, and Maher put a spotlight on it like never before. Maher went even further, pointing out that Schiff had become a one-trick pony, incapable of talking about anything beyond Trump conspiracies. The truth hit hard. Nobody even knew where Schiff stood on basic issues like Medicare, immigration, or inflation. The laughter from the crowd wasn't supportive, it was mocking. Schiff's carefully built image was crumbling live on stage, and Maher made sure every crack was exposed. It was scandalous, it was ruthless, and it was hilarious all at once. Bill Maher wasn't just asking questions, he was exposing years of political theater that had wasted time, money, and trust. And then came the knockout punch. Maher slammed Schiff for wasting America's focus on impeachment at the very moment COVID was spreading like wildfire. The crowd roared as Maher delivered the brutal truth.
Hearings on impeachment while the coronavirus was exploding. We talked about that virus in green rooms, but we had to do this impeachment story. We had to show these hearings. It's all on him, man. He's got to go. They got to investigate him. They got to hold him accountable. I'm not going to say he should go to prison, but my evil twin will say he should go away to prison for a very long time.
Schiff got kicked to the curb, and the irony is superb. He went crying to mommy on an app run by Chinese commies. Congressman Adam Schiff announced this morning he's running for U.S. Senate in California, which is guaranteed to boost U-Haul rentals headed for Texas. He unveiled the highly polished and produced political ad right on the heels of getting booted from the House Intel Committee. Coincidence? I think not.
We were talking about the virus in green rooms, but you forced us to talk about impeachment. The weight of those words hit like a hammer. Schiff had no comeback, no witty defense, just a stiff smile and a stumbling response that only made things worse. Greg Gutfeld didn't miss his chance either. Watching from afar, he added his own flamethrower to the scene, calling out Schiff for being so blinded by hate for Trump that he ignored the nation's real crises. Gutfeld's mockery landed with precision, painting Schiff as a man more obsessed with revenge than responsibility. He hammered Schiff for dragging the country through political theater while people's lives were hanging in the balance. What kind of leader, Gutfeld asked, ignores a pandemic to chase impeachment dreams? The question was simple, brutal, and impossible to answer. Schiff's credibility took another devastating hit. Maher and Gutfeld together created a political demolition unlike anything Schiff had faced before. One used humor as a blade, the other used sarcasm as a sledgehammer, and together they left Schiff politically bruised and battered. The cameras caught it all, the nervous shifting, the forced smiles, the moments of silence that said more than his words ever could. Schiff looked cornered, and the audience knew it. This wasn't just a roast, it was an unmasking. For years, Schiff controlled the narrative. But now, the narrative had turned on him, leaving him exposed under the merciless light of live television. The irony was delicious. The man who made a career out of accusing others was now the one facing accusation, laughter, and ridicule.
The Atlantic put out an article last year, and it was called Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense.
Right.
And talked about how we separate sports like the WNBA and the just because it's just socialization. This is insane.
I agree.
Okay. That's why people vote for Trump. Because there's stuff like that on the left that people just go, I know Trump's horrible, but separating by sports by sex makes perfect sense. And if you think it doesn't, you can't leave the country.
And the worst part for Schiff, he couldn't spin his way out of it. By the time Maher moved on, Schiff's reputation had been scorched beyond recognition. What was meant to be a friendly interview had turned into a humiliating spectacle that people would replay again and again. Schiff tried to hold his ground, but every attempt to defend himself only dug the hole deeper. His words felt empty, his tone felt forced, and his usual confidence melted under the heat of Maher's relentless grilling. The more Schiff spoke, the more obvious it became. He didn't have real answers. He had memorized lines, recycled talking points, and stale excuses that had already worn thin with the American people. Maher seized on that weakness with perfect timing. He leaned in and reminded Schiff that his so-called evidence on Russian collusion had turned out to be nothing but smoke and mirrors. The crowd burst into laughter, realizing they had been sold a political fairy tale. It was comedy mixed with accountability, and it hit Schiff like a freight train. His legacy wasn't built on solutions, it was built on stories that collapsed under the weight of facts. And as Maher exposed this reality, Schiff's face told the story. Tight smiles, darting eyes, and that unmistakable look of a man caught in his own web. The audience could feel the discomfort radiating from the stage. Then came Gutfeld's strike from the sidelines, sharper and harsher than ever. He called Schiff a man who wasted America's time to settle a personal score. And the words landed with explosive force.
Dems pop their dentures when Schiff finally gets censored. And so the House condemns the lies of the man with the zombie eyes. Last night, the House voted on party lines to censure Adam Schiff for promoting the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, which was as believable as Brian Kilmeade getting fan mail. 2 for 2. Schiff becomes only the 26th member ever to be censured. But to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12-inch neck.
Gutfeld reminded viewers that Schiff's obsession didn't just waste time, it distracted from life-or-death issues. While Schiff was chasing shadows, COVID was sweeping across the world, and America was left unprepared. The image was damning. While hospitals filled and fear spread, Schiff was holding hearings and pointing cameras at Trump. It wasn't leadership. It was theater at the cost of real lives. Maher, ever the satirist, twisted the knife further by mocking Schiff's political ambitions. Schiff had just announced a run for the California Senate, but Maher made it clear that his baggage was too heavy to carry into that race. The audience roared as Maher joked that Schiff's Senate campaign would only boost U-Haul rentals for people fleeing California. It was humor laced with brutal truth, and Schiff had no answer to it. Every attempt Schiff made to dodge only fueled the spectacle. Maher exposed him for being vague, slippery, and more focused on protecting his image than answering real questions. And when the topic shifted to cultural issues, Schiff stumbled again. Asked about trans women competing in women's sports, he dodged, spun, and sidestepped until it was painfully obvious. He wasn't brave enough to give a straight answer. The crowd groaned at the dodge, and Maher pounced. He said it was this kind of weakness, this refusal to speak honestly, that pushed people straight into Trump's arms. The audience erupted, knowing Maher had nailed the point. Schiff's problem wasn't just dishonesty, it was selective honesty. He spoke loudly when it served him, and stayed silent when it didn't.
Senator Schiff, given the ongoing political tensions and Trump's actions toward his critics, do you think President Biden's preemptive pardons turned out to be more important than initially expected? Let's first tell people what that means, preemptive pardons. That was pretty unprecedented, right? Before he left office, Joe Biden pardoned you and a number of people who he thought Trump would go after.
No, I take the opposite view. I don't think he should have given the pardons at all.
Really?
No, I don't think he should have, and I was vocal about that at the time.
Can you refuse a pardon?
That's less clear because in the case of the January 6th committee, he pardoned essentially the whole committee.
Maher exposed that hypocrisy with a smirk and a few well-placed jokes that left Schiff defenseless. The humiliation was relentless. Schiff, once hailed by his allies as a fighter, looked like a man cornered with no escape. Every sentence he uttered only gave Maher more fuel for the fire. And when Maher brought up Schiff's censure by the House, the second in history for a man of his rank, the audience gasped again. Schiff had become a rare figure, a congressman officially condemned for promoting lies. The shame was undeniable, but Maher didn't stop there. He joked about Schiff's 12-inch neck, turning even the serious moment of censure into a punchline that made Schiff the butt of the joke. It was comedy with teeth, biting into Schiff's carefully crafted persona and leaving it shredded for the world to see. Schiff had been roasted, exposed, and humiliated, all in less than an hour of television. And the most scandalous part? Schiff couldn't escape the truth anymore. He had built his entire identity on Trump and collusion. But with both gone, he was left standing on a political stage with nothing but ashes in his hands. Schiff's downfall wasn't just about one bad night on live TV. It was the collapse of an entire persona built on smoke and mirrors. Bill Maher exposed what millions had already suspected. Schiff's political playbook was nothing but drama without delivery. Each time Schiff opened his mouth, the weight of his past lies hung in the air. He had promised evidence. He had sworn to deliver truth. But when the time came, there was nothing but empty folders and broken trust.
And so the FBI came in and arrested the judge. Now, I haven't heard that, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I've ever read arrested a judge. So is this significant?
Well,
I think I'm not going to comment on something I don't know more about than what you've just told me.
You read about it too.
Yeah, I mean, I read about it, but I don't know.
So you don't trust anything either, and you work for the New York Times.
Well,
Maher reminded the audience that Schiff's endless warnings about proof just around the corner never came true. It was like watching a magician reveal his box was empty after years of promising a rabbit. The crowd laughed, but it was bitter laughter, the kind that comes after realizing you've been duped for years. Schiff wasn't just exposed, he was humiliated by the very truth he had tried so hard to avoid. Greg Gutfeld hammered that point home by calling Schiff's career a political circus act that drained the country of energy and focus. His words hit like dynamite, blowing apart whatever credibility Schiff thought he had left. Every scandal, every exaggeration, every false claim was suddenly laid bare under the brightest lights. Schiff wasn't just roasted. He was stripped of the one thing every politician needs, the illusion of integrity. And Maher didn't stop at the past. He reminded Schiff that his Senate run would only bring more of the same smoke and mirrors to a higher stage. California deserves solutions, not another spotlight chaser hungry for attention. The audience clapped, cheered, and laughed all at once, sensing that Schiff had been cornered in a way he couldn't escape. For the first time, the congressman looked powerless, vulnerable, and exposed. When the subject of Biden's preemptive pardons came up, Schiff tried to put on his serious face again, but Maher cut through his words, pointing out the absurdity of a system where politicians are pardoned before even being accused. Maher exposed Schiff's double standards so plainly that the audience groaned in recognition. This was a man who chased headlines, not truth.
Dems pop their dentures when Schiff finally gets censored. And so the House condemns the lies of the man with the zombie eyes. Last night, the House voted on party lines to censure Adam Schiff for promoting the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, which was as believable as Brian Kilmeade getting fan mail. Schiff becomes only the 26th member ever to be censured. But to his credit, he's still the only member to have a 12-inch neck.
By now, Schiff's body language gave him away completely. The stiff posture, the half smiles, the defensive tone, it all screamed of a man unraveling under the weight of his own contradictions. Maher's roasting wasn't just comedy, it was history. Schiff became one of the rare members of Congress ever censured, and now he was being censured again in the court of public opinion. The crowd loved every second of it. They laughed, clapped, and nodded along as Maher dismantled Schiff piece by piece, leaving nothing but the raw truth behind. Gutfeld's commentary echoed in the background like a drumbeat. America doesn't need actors chasing the spotlight. It needs real leaders with real solutions. Schiff was no leader. He was a performer who had finally lost his stage. As the interview drew to a close, Schiff looked smaller than ever. Once presented as a fierce protector of democracy, he was now the punchline to a national joke. The scandal wasn't just about him being wrong. It was about him being exposed as someone who valued ambition over accountability, drama over duty, and politics over people. Bill Maher hilariously, ruthlessly, and brilliantly exposed Adam Schiff on live TV, and in doing so, he may have ended the illusion Schiff had worked years to create. And that's the ultimate irony. Schiff set out to be the man who exposed others, but in the end, He was the one exposed, humiliated, and laughed at by millions watching from home.